How did it start?
Well, it started with
I think, yes,
Swinford.
it started with comments in newspapers. Comments in newspapers we answered, and in that connection of people who picked up on what we'd said, we joined a like-minded group. That's fair comment, isn't it? So we actually formally connected to make it the ProWind Alliance, and decided from there to campaign. Get some facts sorted out about the area and the actual plans, talk to the people involved, get the views of the locals, and set up a campaign. I think we opened the campaign with a market stall in Lutterworth on, what would it be?
About 2 years ago.
About 2 years ago. And it went from there really, and we had a lot of coverage. And of course then we were then quoted in the local papers and the regional papers, you see about it. And we gained quite a few supporters, and from there we went on to give information to people locally from our website, talk to parish councillors, talk to developers and their associates, and gave evidence and inquiries, and we're still doing it.
And I think one of the key factors in the success we are seeing now was the fact it was a coming together basically of local supporters, local people,
yes.
And also we were able to fall back on the experience of years of environmental campaigning related
expertise.
To Friends of the Earth, specifically various local Friends of the Earth groups are involved, and also academic expertise. We've got academic experts in the field on board basically, so it's a combination of factors really.
The first planning meeting, it would be an informal one, wouldn't it? When we talked about it at hub, because it didn't go through to an inquiry for some time. The first one would be it might have been a preliminary inquiry, but whatever the council has called it at that time, but we actually went to the meeting to listen to what was happening. But we had meetings with planning officers who gave us advice of how these things are conducted. And we also had a CPRE meeting where they were also invited to give us advice. And so at the first actual planning meeting, which was after the date of the planning decision that should have been made, which was left open, they had what we would call a delayed planning meeting. So they went through the process where we gave evidence. I think just Herbert and I gave evidence, or was there three of us? I think John Twydale might have been, so there might have been three of us gave evidence at the original planning meeting, and it was obviously turned down for the same reasons as they conducted themselves earlier. Then it went to the public inquiry where four of us gave evidence, and the four of us, by the way, are all qualified because we were able to counter any scientific evidence that they put up. But of course then it goes into the hands of the developer's barrister at an inquiry, and they took charge of how the proceedings were going, and we just added to their involvement.
That's right, and that was the public inquiry for Swinford, which was a very prolonged affair. I think it ran for 3 weeks.
Yes.
And was very involved, very detailed, and the most detailed one we've had really. And it took a very long time for importantly, the decision actually had been called in by the Secretary of State. And the reason that was stated in the calling letter was that the project is of national significance for the government's climate change delivery programme. So we were reasonably confident that the right decision would be made, and the inspector did indeed recommend approval, which was then endorsed by the then Secretary of State, John Denham. That was our first success in Swinford.
Excellent. One of the parts to add to that as to why we were so heavily involved in this one was because the opposition group was locally very strong, and they were our nemesis, should we say, because we were fighting them, not the company, not the council, whatever. They're supposed to be impartial, whether they are or not is another thing, but the actual opposition group was where we were putting our firepower. And we counted everything that they put up, including previously when they took us to an ASA inquiry, the Advertising Standards Authority, and they lost out on both points. We were actually given credit for our paperwork. They had 10 points against them on their paperwork that they were found in breach of. So the company Nuon actually put a claim against them to say they shouldn't use this information in their publication. They still do, by the way, but not actually on paper.
And another interesting aspect, I suppose, of that particular case and inquiry and application, the Swinford application, was the interaction with the developer. The developer is Nuon of Age of Stupid fame. Most people will have seen the Age of Stupid. If they haven't, they really should go and see it. It is essential viewing. And really, I think we can say that totally objectively and independently, we can say that Nuon are really exemplary in their communication with local people and with the campaigners, and always totally open at all times, and that really seems to have paid off for them.